one thought I wanted to say about the Chiefs, when you're talking about the roster construction, you're mentioning their defense, and that's really the reason why they're so good. Because last year, their offense wasn't even that great, but their defense stepped up. And it's because, yeah, they paid Mahomes so much money, but he's good enough that he's able to work without a top-end receiver. The Bengals are about to pay Jamar Chase some crazy money, and look at all the holes that they already have. It's going to get so much worse because you're going to be paying Joe Burrow that much money. You're going to be paying Jamar that much money. T. Higgins, hopefully, he's a great player, but they can't pay him, especially with how available he's been. But, when you pay your quarterback that much money and pay your receiver that much money, there's no track record for success. You've seen Bills fall apart doing that, Bengals fall apart doing that, and none of these other teams have paid their quarterback and really gotten any better. The quarterback market's going to crash at some point is my theory because these contracts keep going up. You see Tua's getting this much money, Dak Prescott's getting this much money, who good quarterbacks, but they're not my top three. It's just not sustainable to pay your quarterback that much money, then pay a receiver that much money, and expect to build the rest of your team around it.
I'll tell you something, Dave. You just absolutely slammed a red button in my brain because the amount of anger. I don't want to sound like a hater or nothing, but the amount of anger that it's irrational anger too, right? Because when I got that tweet notification that said Jordan Love will now be the highest paid quarterback in NFL history, I almost threw the phone out the window. I literally called somebody just to rant about it. And I said the same thing that you said. This quarterback market is going to explode. It's going to implode. It's going to crash. That's just what it's going to do. And I'm sitting here, I remember the time, and I know you remember it too, whenever Drew Brees was up for a contract extension. I'm pretty sure it was like 2014, 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. We had a couple down years, and we were like, okay, he's going to be the first $100 million quarterback in NFL history. And people are like, we shouldn't pay him that. We have too many holes in the roster. He's going to be taking up too much money. He don't deserve it, blah, blah, blah. So at the time, we were sitting here talking about a multiple time Pro Bowler, a multiple time All Pro player, a multiple time top three vote getter in MVP race. Should have had two MVPs at that point already, mind you, but whatever. And a Super Bowl winning QB. And we're sitting here arguing if he's worth $100 million or not. And then now you look at it, Tua, he becomes the highest paid quarterback. And you look at it like, okay, well, what did Tua do? He made a Pro Bowl, sure, but Tyler Huntley made the Pro Bowl too, right? So now the Pro Bowl don't even mean what it used to mean. They don't have any accolades. Jordan Love plays 1 year. He's above average. He takes his team to, a nice little deep playoff run. And all of a sudden you're like, yep, make him the highest paid quarterback of all time. It doesn't make sense to me. And I find it extremely foolish because I think you'll get burned more times than you'll get hit on that. Because it's like you said with the Bills. Look at the Dolphins right now. If Tua gets another concussion, that's done. Now you got to pay this guy because he's going to be forced to medically retire $156 million guaranteed. And then you look at the Cowboys. You just paid Dak all this money. He gets 240 million, I think, and 231 of that is guaranteed. Now you got to go pay CD. Then they go and pay CD. And now you got to pay Mike Parsons. Where does that leave money for anybody else? So the whole wide receiver one extreme payment plan with the extreme QB payment plan, it's nuts. And it's like inflation is just going crazy. You're paying for a quarterback just because he's above average. And that just goes to tell you how bad the QB market is right now. That teams feel like we have to pay $200 million to a guy that probably in the grand scheme of quarterbacking isn't that great, but he's a top 10 quarterback right now. So I'm with you, man. And hell, Atlanta gave mid 30s quarterback coming off of an Achilles rupture, and I had that injury last year, so I know all about it. A 36-year-old quarterback with an Achilles rupture, you gave him $180 million. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So I agree with you, man. I don't want to get too far into it. I just say these quarterbacks don't deserve it. I can't say that. That made me sound like a hater. Does that make me sound like a hater, Dave? That makes me sound like a hater.
I mean, it's a little bit hating because it's like you want them to do well, you want them to get their money, but if you want to win as a team, you're completely correct. And if you look at a bunch of the recent Super Bowls, so last year you had the Chiefs win it, and of course, like you had Mahomes. And like the year before is like the Chiefs win it with Mahomes. But if you look at the teams that are making it, you've got the Eagles making it with Jalen Hurts on a cheap contract. You got when the Bengals played the Rams, yeah, Stafford actually had a big deal, but the Bengals made it with a rookie scale contract. The Bucks Chiefs Super Bowl. Brady's on a cheap contract. I know that's a special situation, but the Chiefs make it with a rookie scale contract. Patrick Mahomes, I believe, or no, that might have been the first year that he was paid. Either way,
It didn't kick in yet. The
yeah, it
49ers,
did
you
kick
see
in.
what Brock Purdy's making? Nothing. It's
Nothing. Year before, the Chiefs play the 49ers. Both quarterbacks way under market value or rookie scale. Year before, you have the Rams make it with Jared Goff on his rookie scale contract. Well, you have the Patriots make it with Brady taking a pay cut, which I know that's a special situation. But year before that, you've got Carson Wentz and Nick Foles leading you to a Super Bowl victory. See, all these teams that make it, it really just shows to make a Super Bowl, the best thing that you can do is have a rookie scale quarterback who's good. Doesn't have to be elite, just be good, because then the rest of your team around it is able to be filled out. Otherwise, unless you're the Chiefs, where Mahomes can do it with no receivers, or then go draft a receiver, you hit on a rookie in Rashee Rice, that's really the model that if you want to pay your quarterback, you got to have a top 5 guy, and he's got to be able to do it without an expensive receiving core. And that's going to be this model that leads teams to victory, I think, carrying on.
See, we keep talking about. I hate going back to the Saints, but not if you look at it, right? Chris Olave, rookie wide receiver deal. He's going to be paying big money when his time comes. Rashid Shaheed, he's on a extremely cheap undrafted free agent tender. Extremely cheap. It's like what, 2 mil, something like that. Everything that you said with these teams that have won the Super Bowl and went to Super Bowl. I mean, right now the Saints kind of fit the bill. Cheaper quarterback that's playing good. You ain't losing your games. You got a wide receiver that you hit on in the draft who's really good. And then you found you another gem for a wide receiver too. Undrafted at that.
Where have the Saints emphasized their investments? They emphasized it on defense, and then they go draft an offensive tackle. That's the model that you have to have. You got to build the team around the quarterback. Teams really haven't done a great job of doing that. And we've talked about it before, but quarterback play as a whole is just down across the league. Yes, a big part of it is definitely how defenses have adapted and how, we talked about the pendulums kind of swinging a little bit back to defense. They're making some good adjustments and doing a good job of stopping offenses, but on the whole, quarterback play just hasn't been as good. Meanwhile, you're seeing all these record contracts being handed out. You're seeing guys who are top 10 guys at best, not even cracking the top 5, but they're getting top 3 money. And this is going to catch up to teams because it's not a sustainable practice to be overpaying guys this much. And yes, I know it's hard. Like, you don't want to give up on your franchise quarterback and then not find a good replacement and just be left with nobody because your team's going to suck. But when you're given this kind of money that guys like Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Tua are getting, when none of them are top 3 quarterbacks, and honestly, none of them might be top 5 quarterbacks, it just hampers what you can do with the rest of your roster. I really think that this market's going to crash at some point, and whether that's a team wising up and saying, you know what, we're going to take the risk and we're going to trade our guy while he's in his contract year before we have to pay him, go get a bunch of draft capital back and hope we can find someone, or if it's just a situation where you see these guys get paid and not perform, so finally a team started to say, hey, look at how these guys that are getting these contracts are performing. We don't want that, so we're not going to do it, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds in the next few years.